Hi there, it's Paulie here and Mr. Snoots, yay! And we are chilling by poolside in Goa. And as such, I just wanted to do a little video, an anecdote video for you. I was a bit worried about coming to Goa just on a personal level because one of my best friends from my early gaming days was a guy called Damien. And Damien, we became firm friends when we were about 13. We discovered Dungeons and Dragons together. We discovered wargaming. We discovered all the games, from 75 onwards. And he was a strange guy, quite a guy. He eventually just, unfortunately, inherited an atomic buttload of money and just wandered off into, hey, I'm sticking it up my veins world. And we lost him here in Goa. He just died at a rave here a few years ago. So, but he was a great guy in his way. He was a troubled soul always. But some fun stories for Damien to remember him by while I'm here. Let's celebrate him. So, Damien was one of those people that was always great at finding loopholes. Ultimate rules lawyer, but as such, we were both part of playtesting teams for Traveller, particularly things like Trillion Credit Squadron, which were the fleet combat rules for Traveller, based on their Starship combat rules, and they did whole rules for running economies and running star fleets and everything, and we pushed the envelope on those. Boy, did we ever. They still remember the Australian kids with fear, because the American players kind of did sensible spaceship stuff, and we got going. So there were things like, we would play, share an empire, and Damien, I would come up with the concepts, and Damien would sit there and nail 101 different variants and ideas while I ran the math, and voila. So there's a type of ship which was called a buffered planetoid. Basically, you got planetoid, which is where you make a spaceship by hollowing out a meteor and stacking some drives on it and banging a few aerials on it, and yay, hey, hey. Buffered planetoids, where you could put some armor and so on that and make the structure. And the thing about those was that they were dirt cheap because you didn't have to pay for hulls. But they weren't all that efficient because there's a lot of waste material. But they were also down, and it said, or they were unstreamlined, which meant you couldn't skim fuel from gas giants. But we wrote in to say, look, if we spent some money on basically sculpting the outside smooth, if we made them like egg-shaped or spherical or as near as, could we have it classed as semi-streamlined so that it could skim fuel? It can't land on planets, but it can skim fuel. And they wrote back saying, you can sculpt these any way you want. It will cost you, and it was something ridiculous, like 1,000 credits per ship, all told. It was like, a credit a ton. But it will never class these vehicles as being semi-streamlined for refueling purposes. Well, that was a challenge, so we made them. We sculpted those ships aright, and we sent them in pictures of all the ships. There were the Venus de Milo class destroyers. There were the busts of Napoleon class cruisers, right up to the Mount Rushmore Leviathans, and we sculpted them okay. We sculpted them to great artistic works and sent them flying through the universe. Much to their annoyance. We also came up with kick ships, which was Russian doll ships. So basically, we got them to define how jump drives work. They hadn't really defined them. So the ship basically sits or drifts, and it spends a few hundred hours basically burning fuel and running that into capacitors. And then the capacitors flood their power instantaneously into the jump drive, and the ship jumps. It says, right, so it doesn't have to have the fuel on it. What? It says, all you need is a charged capacitor. You don't need a ship with fuel, you just need a ship with power in it, governed by the size of the ship. Well, yes, we guess so. So one thing is, you can have a tanker which just attaches itself onto ships that do not have the fuel tankage. But they do have a jump drive, and these tankers just feed these things, and away they go, boing! And because you haven't spent like 60% of your mass on just fuel tanks, you get a sprier, more vicious ship. The downside, you can't retreat. But then again, because it's fleets, you can, because you can cover some ships with others while you bring the tankers back in. Because once the tankers have used their fuel, that was the other thing, people were just calculating based on the overall size of the ship. Says, no. If this tanker is like 99.9% just fuel, and as it fuels these other vehicles, it gets progressively lighter. So the amount of power needed to jump it will get lower each time. That goes with ships too. If you do multiple jumps, its weight is going lower as it consumes the fuel. So therefore, it's taking less fuel to send it forward. Goddamn 15-year-olds. Yeah, I guess technically it would. Right. So if we do ships for multiple jumps, yes, fine. Or if you do, what if a ship, there's a massive fuel bladder, but it's got a jump drive and everything, but it attaches to a smaller ship, so it provides the fuel for the smaller ship to jump forward. But that ship also has one, because if these are instantaneous jumps, all they need is a navigational fix from where they're going. How long does that take? So, well, it takes about an hour for the computers to work on it. Fantastic. So we have a Russian doll ship. A ship, boing, kicks another one forward, which kicks another one forward, which kicks another one forward, which kicks another one forward. So you can have a mass of ships that are really just fuel bladders and a drive that finally project a warship, and you are getting like 36. You're doing jump sixes in a row, and just transferring these things all across the universe. Stop it. So yeah, that's one of the things Damien was good at. He was also kind of a bit of a nut job about engineering. Considered himself to be one of the great thinking engineers. So one of my viewers, Rory, he ran a fantastic role-playing game, but it was set in the Han universe. And Damien threw a fit because he said, look, Polly's really persuasive, so their characters can like talk their way past guards and so on because they say how they're doing it, and the umpire sort of listens and says, yeah, you're right, that sounds pretty persuasive, we'll let you do that. But I am an engineer, and I'm not allowed to use my engineering skills. I should be able to use my engineering skills to get ahead in the world. Okay, well, umpire says you come up with the plan, and, if it seems reasonable, then, you can do it. But remember, you're going to have to fund it. And so the first thing he came up with this idea was flight. I'll do flight. I want a burlap balloon. A burlap balloon. So, yeah. Oh, hello. I've looked at the cost of materials, and silk is like, it's a gold piece per square foot. Whereas this stuff, burlap, that's worth like a copper piece per 10 square meters. So I'll just build a balloon of that. So I turned around to say, Damien, you do know what burlap is, don't you? He said, what? I'm an engineer. Don't talk down to me. I'm an engineer just because you know history and stuff. Okay. So he needed some money to back the project. So he went to the local king. Look, I can make a flying machine. So he was given a date. Can you have this done by Christmas? Why, certainly you can. Good. We'll have the whole court there for Christmas, and we'll be able to witness a man fly as part of the whole celebrations. So fantastic. So the big day arrives. Crowds have come from all over the place. The city square has this giant burlap balloon laid out in it, and Damien's character's there with bellows going and a fire and trying to shove warm air into this thing, and he's bustling back and forth. So, how's my balloon looking? And the umpire sort of pretends to be rolling dice and says, it's not really filling. It's not filling. Is the fire hot enough? Bellows. We'll get some more bellows. We'll borrow some more bellows from like local armories and so on. Really make that hot. It's still not really working. I finally had to go outside and find a burlap sack and bring it in and said, Damien, this is what you've made your balloon out of. And he looked at that, and the umpire says, the king sends a message down to you and sort of says, time's a wasting. The guests have got a big dinner to go to. By the end of this hour, one way or another, we're going to witness a man flying. You can see them cranking back a trebuchet in the background. So Damien makes himself scarce out of there. Ping! Then he got an idea. Wait, I know. I'll go to another kingdom. A quarry system. An ultra-fast quarry system. Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to make iron tracks which run, and there's a little car on these. A little car on these. Yeah. And I'm going to make basically essentially he's going to make a rocket sled that goes along these tracks. It doesn't have to be much. It just has to be like big bellows that will push a fine coal dust into a ignition chamber, and that will ignite, provide thrust, and so this rocket car will go along the tracks. What's it for? What's it for? Well, so they can send messages really quickly. He says, yeah, but the technology is about 1066 AD. There's actually no information that needs to be transferred that quickly. It says, my God, the Scots are invading. Quick, raise the armies. Good, quick, raise the armies. Sound the call, send forth the arrow, beat the drums. Okay, well, everyone looks at their clocks and says, okay, look, harvesting's still going on. Give us 3 weeks and we will obey the bands and we'll start sending our men in. What? But the Scots are coming, you're right. They're an army of, guys on foot. So what are they going to be doing? Probably about 2 kilometres an hour, 10 hours a day maybe. So they're coming about 20 kilometres an hour. How far away are they? So, about 500 kilometres away. So, right, so we got a month before they get here. So what he didn't think of was that peasants would, of course, steal the incredibly expensive iron, woohoo, free iron, and just run off with it. But then he came up with the idea of, wait, the flying machine. I got it wrong. The coal dust fuel system, that was also wrong. But what? I'm going to do it right this time. This time I'm going to do it right. It's going to be a scramjet. What? This is a scramjet. No, hear me out. We go to the highest vertical cliff in the kingdom. And then what you do is, we make a scramjet, which is just, it's a air intake chamber, which pinches down into a combustion chamber. And there's like a big bellows that's going to push coal dust into there, and then we ignite it. That sends the blast out the back. So that's how it works. Okay, but you do realise it has to be going at basically nice sonic speeds for enough pressure to build up in the chamber for the whole ignition process for a scramjet to work. Says, yeah, that's why we've got the cliff. We're going to drop it vertically down, and then when it ignites, we just hold back on the stick and we're away. Okay, and you're making this, are you? Says the umpire. Says, yes. So what are you making it from? Says, well, the wings will need to be pretty tough. I'll saw those out of big oak planks. All right, so you're sawing oak planks. And how are you getting the combustion chamber and everything made? We'll just find actually a blacksmith's going to be really expensive. I'll just do it myself. It's just sheet iron. I'll just kind of heat it up in a forge and sort of bang it together. Okay, so you're an unskilled blacksmith, but you're hammering this thing together. Coal dust? Well, I'll just find some coal and I'll put it in bags and I'll jump up and down on it until it's dust. It's kind of lumpy. That's okay. I mean, the big bits will kind of catch fire when the other stuff goes. And the initial kind of ignition, how are you providing that? So I'm just going to put a wick, like a candle. I'll put a candle in the back of the ignition chamber and that'll just spark it off. Okay. So everyone decides we're going to help with this project. So there were characters who all had strange little craft skills. So one guy says, I think he'll be cold up there. I'll make him a nice scarf so his necky-wecky doesn't get cold as he flies through the sky. And someone else says, I think his ears will get cold. I want to make him a woolly hat that he can really pull down. And someone else sort of says, look, his hands, they'll get all chapped. I'll make him some nice gloves. My character's a glover. So everyone makes him this stuff to aid and abet because Damien's just so certain that this is going to work. And then he gets this whole thing put together and we say, all right, so we're helping you, we're carrying this thing to the top of this multi-thousand foot tall cliff. We're looking over the edge, straight down onto pointy rocks. Yep, you happy with that? So, no, this would be perfect. All right, so you get into the controls, yeah? Gonna put your gloves on, yeah? Now, we need you to be warm, so put that nice scarf on, yeah? I get in this, okay, right, hang on. I light the candle. Okay, you light the candle, all right. So everyone just it was kind of a bit of a note-passing game, lots of secret stuff going on. So everyone suddenly writes on bits of paper and slips them to the umpire who's reading them and that's what you're doing? Yeah? Okay. So the umpire says to Damien, so everyone just basically picks up this thing, walks you to the edge of the cliff while you're sitting in there, so, yeah, this will be great, this will be fantastic. This is amazing. So we turn to, so Damien, is your character happy? What? Is this the happiest moment of your character's life? You couldn't be more fulfilled and just filled with expectation, wonder and amazement. Yeah, okay, well, so the umpire said, all right, well, everyone goes with a 1 and a 2 and a 3, and they throw you over the cliff. I said, wow! And what happens is, well, according to the notes, everyone immediately turns around and just walks away. What? Yes, that's what everyone had individually written in the notes. Not throwing them off and just walking away. We don't want to see this. Don't you want to see me fly? In our hearts, you're flying forever. Off into that wild blue yonder with that imbecilic smile of your joy and wonder and expectation on your face. That's how we want to remember you. Oh, okay. So Damien turns to the umpire and says, so, should I roll some dice for how far I get? The umpire says, oh, hang on, just give me a character sheet. Oh, okay, puzzle character sheet. Umpire folds it up and puts it in the dead folder, says, no. Oh, so that was Damien. Oh, my God. I had a character called Bran McMuffin in that campaign, so he declared himself, his next character declared to be my character's brother, so that was Otis McMuffin. So the McMuffin twins were, damn, but he just said, I'm copying all the Paulie's character stats. We're just going to have the exact same stats and the same points. Which is a very cool idea. God. Oh my God. His characters were normally called Elias Moose Blaster, by the way, which is a name that you'll ring forever in memory. Yes, he was king of the stupid errors in role-playing games. Damn fine stuff. He's also the one that made beef armor for the SCA. He read up on Cubolli, decided he wanted to make Cubolli, and Cubolli said, oh, it is leather that has been treated with oil until it's very hard and tough. It actually isn't. It is oil. It is leather that has been soaked in neats for oil and then put in a kiln and carefully shrunk so that the fibers basically shrink into about, an eighth of their previous size. So it is very tough, but the neats for oil stops it being brittle. But no, he's just read this thing, heat treated with oil. So he cuts up all of these lamellae to make lamellar armor. We walk into the house, and the house is just full of this smell of like frying beef. We're all students at the time. They're saying, what's for dinner? We walk in and he's got a chip fryer, a deep fryer, and he's deep frying all these scales just in edible food oil and dumping them out onto the sink to drain. And it smelled delicious. It smelled, frying leather smells like yum, yum, yum. It smells like, fried beef. Really wish they hadn't turned that smacking music on. But, he did make this armor and it was greasy because the grease just never stopped, but it just continued to smell delicious. So he wore this thing, but dogs would follow him everywhere because they were just like, they kept trying to basically gnaw on his armor. Greasy yum yum armor. Oh, Damien. So look, I'm very sorry he's gone. I'm very sorry I couldn't be there to watch over him. He left the role-playing gamers because he knew we were the steadying influence in his life. And that bad part of him wanted to be free of that to allow him to just pursue a life of drugs and partying. And then, so essentially, leaving role-playing games killed him because it freed him for a life of, drug abuse. So there you go, stay healthy, keep playing role-playing games. But anyway, I am in Goa, I am here by the pool, remembering Damien on a strange day. So, here's to Damien. Good times, amazing times. I will always remember them. I'll always remember him. I'll always be your sister, mate. We'll love you always. Anyway, just some stories of a very cool player from very cool times that I thought I'd share with you on a chill day in southern India. Okay, bye.